All right, this is Deb again. Fear from my stomach to the back of my throat. It, it's like an aneurysm in my brain. It's like communication ceases. End scene. And not really, a little bit. The end scene, taking the pose, that bringing that mindfulness it's calming the rage of adrenaline and cortisol that has been scared to death by a direct message on LinkedIn. I simply cannot do any better than I'm doing. And it's mostly like that for all of us, except I'm doing it at an incredible level. It's just not being noticed. I'm really creating a legacy of the evolution of my body and brain capacity as I'm healing from brain dysfunction due to a toxic mold exposure. In the Western medical tradition, that big, broad concept, which is something that's happening to all of our species, this is overreaction to excess carbon in my near atmosphere, i.e., global warming. I'm just sensitive to it. It's just because as a child, I didn't get touched. I didn't get the security I needed in that way of being part of a tribe. Many of my core animal sensory capacities are very heightened. Now, I don't know about everyone's story, but this is a good hypothesis that when you don't get certain key nourishments and nutrients in your very first days. So maybe this was just, the week after my mom was a very tiny woman and I was not a large baby, 7 pounds, 1 ounce. But maybe that process was just too physically much for her. And just in those first few days, we didn't get time to bond. That could be enough, y'all. That could be enough. Now, I know for a fact that I have no memory of being touched by my own mother in a loving, supportive way until I was 20 and was on a gangplank going to Europe for the rest of my life. But not in a cold way, not in a calculating way, not in an obvious way. That's the part that's interesting. That's the part that only a human like me, having been so alone, look at me turning those lemons to lemonade, artisanal, demerara sweetened, cold pressed, filtered water lemonade. What I'm saying to you, complexity of thinking comes with a properly operating brain and body biofield trinity. Biofield is a term from the National Institutes of Health. Go look it up. I'm not digressing on this one. I have a theory of everything. It's actually a Com's razor, except I have no idea how long it will take to pull apart erroneous assumptions that other people have. See, because the thing is, we've got different combinations. It's like a Rubik's Cube of erroneous assumptions, whether it's from a religious base or a financial base, from a family of origin base. If you're one of many kids, your whole framework of reality, if you're like one of 5 kids versus an only child, there's almost, we act as though, just for shortcut's sake, that it's all the same. But how somebody would process life as an only child versus being in with a whole bunch of other children, because I had one other, but I felt no kinship with my brother. I am, at this point, pretty certain there's a few levels to look at it, but that I had a mold exposure when I was an infant in the basement of the house that my parents built. Then moving to the Pacific Northwest and having a similar situation 5 years ago. It's like childhood trauma has to be healed. Everything is back to like the foundational levels of understanding and processing. Like, there goes the tremoring. Processing things I should have never had to go through alone. So I numbed myself and I ate. Good job, Deb. Tremoring, okay? Getting the energy through the fascia of the body is actually having the capacity to use this extra wattage, this extra amplitude of energy from all of this emotion. It's the emotions of intensity. It's an amplitude of enormous proportions. When you get an emotion like what I just did, let me see if I can come back. And that was pigeon, because I literally have lactic acid now at the pleasurable level. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you really understand? Lactic acid is not a muscle problem. It's a fascia situation. Now, how I was just describing it, to me it felt like operating at absolute full capacity, engorged. It was as if all of this information was going through my hands after having had, 30 seconds of tremoring, not much. I could definitely, I feel up in here, I've been having a lot of tension and pain in this. Because I used to be 333 pounds, now half the size. And there's literally limits. When it's all fat, you just go and go and go. 150 pounds turned out for me. Now I've hit these places where my body has had all the structure, just body deserves some kind of Olympic award. And it gets to keep doing more and more miraculous things if I become safe. Because I have all of these tidbits recorded here, there, and otherwheres that will allow me to recreate what I know about self-healing in a conversation with your own body, and allowing that you are doing the absolute best you possibly can. And if you can't get out of bed for 20 hours, it's on purpose. Your body is really not okay, and your body is your best friend forever. It's trying to keep you alive 24/7. This whole thing, I mean, I even felt it myself, this like flash of disbelief. It was like your body would want to keep wanting to betray that 20 hours of sleep was physically necessary. I'm literally applauding my ability to do it, and I'm still getting that flash that's been acculturated in me. And our bodies are betraying us. But it's our thoughts betraying our bodies. Bodies become ill, they become fat because they are so insecure. You store fat beyond the normal cyclical, seasonal, store up for the winter. We all have it. It's very natural and it's a very broad range again. Latitude will affect not just the person's own size, genetics, but the latitudinal genetics. It's the same thing. To me it was, but then I'm like, well, you're going to need to know the word genetics. So I'm sort of talking about much more melanated humans who are just the most precious thing that has ever happened to humanity. Without every Black person, there would be no white people. Good little snippet, right? So if I have a videographer, there you go. There's your IGing somebody somehow, some way. So different kind of energy. This is like an end zone dance for the hands. Really subconscious. Really demonstrating that if I wasn't just sat right here trying to do a performance for you, I put this through my whole body. This is dance. Really great. This is what, again, as a very fat kid and somebody wasn't being listened to, so really was just in books and not moving around. I mean, not moving around. Oh, I didn't move around. So this is learning as a 51-and-a-half-year-old woman how to play in an embodied way. Live on YouTube Live. Having labeled it the Chappelle Challenge. Q-tip holler. The abstract philosopher. And I'm the life-centric philosopher, gonna really right. No time for hibernation, only elation. Knock me out my hibernation tip. Knock me out. Knock me out of hibernation tip. Knock me out. Because part of it, I'm way out of the seasonality of the situation. There would be stirrings for, polar bear reproduction activities. A little play, a little bit of, back rubbing against each other on the cold tundras and stuff. People to play with. People to play with. Because I am still healing, and there is still such a big thing. And I want to believe that there is an end to the healing process. But the world keeps pivoting so much, so quickly, that whereas I just hold into being frantic about things. And there's always some new stressor making things frantic all over again in another dimension. Frantic, 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 frantic. When we were hunters and gatherers, we were constantly hanging loose, optimizing our endocannabinoid systems with the plant we co-involved with. Because it's a place where you can create, you can chill, you are. Boom! You are alert too. So it's even safer to be like, hey, what's happening? Because you were there in the present, but I just made Zanzi move a little bit with some of my completely actor-like enunciations. I'm not all into this, literally ever. This is improv for Dave Chappelle. Which is a category, of course, of notes for bits. Table reads for bits. By myself, to myself. Recorded by myself. But going, wait, what's prep? You're talking about prep? Prep? Game time is whenever I'm secure. Whenever my body and brain have a certain integration of functioning, I can be Deb. The external world is what's keeping us from being the people who we know we are inside. And we don't see it, but it's so simple that it's really complex because you have to just keep going simple, 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 simple. Your body is always trying to keep you alive. And that is the case. Your body is always trying to keep you alive. Live with that.